Hello and welcome to today's Natural Gardening Live with me, Josie Rainbird, your natural gardening coach. We are talking about how to create a garden that a ladybird will love and how to encourage them to support your plants. Do you see ladybirds in your garden? Better still, would you recognise a ladybird if you saw one? Now, it may seem like a silly question to some people, but there are some people out there that just do not see ladybirds and wouldn't know what one looked like. So, do you see ladybirds in your garden? Do you see the larvae in your garden? And yeah, do you know what they do? What is a ladybird and how can they support your plants the best? So there's lots of different ways to do that. But a ladybird is a small insect, a beetle, most commonly seen in black and red. Various different numbers of spots on them, depending on the species, the type of ladybird. They can also come in yellow and black, and they can go right through to the green spectrum as well, and depending on different countries that they come from. So you may not see the green ones in the UK, but in like South American and warmer climates, I think they go more towards the greens and the blacks. So a little bit of ladybird history for you there, or knowledge. How can ladybirds protect your plants or support your plants in your garden? Better still, how can they help you to garden naturally? Ladybirds can support your garden in a number of ways. So the most important way, which we'll be talking about today, is pest control. But they can also provide a really vital support when it comes to pollination as well. Ladybirds can lay a fair few eggs. I think it's about 300 eggs per sitting. So it's one ladybird, about 300 eggs. Site of choice, if you like, for nesting is usually a stinging nettle. So this is why I always say it's vital to leave stinging nettles in the patches of stinging nettles in your garden as well at the beginning as they grow through the season. One, because butterflies love them as well, so that's worth it on its own. It's very good for making nitrogen feed, and ladybirds like to lay their eggs on them. So it's worth keeping a patch of nettles in your garden just for that. So one ladybird, 300 eggs. Now, each of those eggs will turn into a ladybird larvae. Now, a ladybird larvae, this is the good bit. Ladybird larvae will eat up to 50 soft-bodied insects a day. Now, if you don't know what soft-bodied insects are, they come under the realms of aphids, black fly, white fly, green fly, scale insects, and some mites as well. So as soon as I say the word aphid to any gardener worth their salt, they strike back in fear, because we all seem to jump on the defensive when we see aphids on any of our plants in the garden. But we don't tend to stop to think about how nature can kind of take control of the situation. We just jump in there and we spray them with something, or you wipe them off, we give them some soap and water and you remove them from the situation. But you don't sort of stop and think, actually, nature can do this for me. I don't have to worry about it so much. So we just brace ourselves for a second, gather our fear and our stress, and we kind of sit back, and then you watch these little critters get to work. Because as I say, 50 a day, eating 50 a day, and if they come from 300 eggs to potentially 300 larvae in your garden, 50 a day, you do the math. So that's around 5,000 per larvae in their lifetime, and that's before they even get to adults. A ladybird gets to an adult ladybird, to a beetle, they go down a little bit in the amount that they can devour. So it's about 25 a day, thereabouts. But they live a bit longer than they do a larvae. And as they're coming into laying eggs, they're going to start eating a bit more as well, which is always good. So just that alone, just for the soft-bodied insects, the support that they provide your garden is immense, absolutely immense. And as I say, with each adult will lay 300 eggs, equaling on average 300 larvae in your garden, eating 50 soft-bodied insects a day. It all adds up. It's amazing the support that they can provide for your garden. So if I haven't emphasised that enough, that is their superpower. It's amazing. If you see them in your garden, try and keep them there if you can. How do you make a garden that a ladybird will love? And how do you encourage them to then support your plants in return? So ladybirds love pollen-rich flowers. Don't really know how else to describe these. They usually, they like the open flowers as well. So they're really nice open, like daisies and things like that. So they have particular favourites such as yarrow. They like yarrow, angelica, fennel, things like that. We've got quite a bit of fennel in the garden at the moment. And they like marigolds as well, which is good because marigolds spread like wildfire. So if you've got marigolds growing in your garden, you should have a few, I was going to say dandelions and ladybirds as well. So they like those in particular because they are nectar rich and pollen rich as well, and they do like them because they're nice and open flowers, so they can land on them and feed, and they're quite happy. They also like nettles, as I said just now. They like to lay their eggs on nettles, so they like to have a patch of nettles. And if you ever see a nettle flower as well, they spire up. So they've got lots and lots of flowers on one. So they like those as well. By growing these flowers and nettles, patch of nettles in your garden, you are going to encourage a lot more ladybirds and butterflies as well, because they like them as well, ladybirds into your garden, and then they will start to use your garden as their base. So they're not going to be hunting elsewhere. They will use your garden they'll find all the food that they need in the garden. They'll lay their eggs in your garden. The larvae will stay within, because the larvae can't fly. So where they hatch from, that's kind of the area they'll stay. They'll crawl. So you'll make a base for them. They'll stay in your garden and they'll start supporting your garden much more than just an adult fleeting in and out. The homes that ladybirds like to live in, as well as feed on, so like the flowers I mentioned about feeding on, they like to live and overwinter and nest in hollow stems of plants. So you've got any like bamboos or anything like that growing in the garden that you've cut back, they like to, or just bamboo canes in your garden. They like to live in the hollow stems of the bamboo. They lay their eggs around more like nettles and things like that, but they like to overwinter themselves in hollowed out stems and even weathered logs as well. They quite like a weathered log if you've got one of those in the garden, so you would find them in there. So in the little nooks that a weathered log will get, like under the bark. You've got, if you made one yourself, like the little, I don't know, a hut that you stick to the wall, you screw onto the wall with bamboo inside, little sections of bamboo cut. So like for like bees to live in. Ladybirds would appreciate one of those as well. They like the fairly wider bamboo, so they can just crawl in and live in there. So that's a really good way of encouraging in ladybirds into your garden. So one of the things I spoke about, supporting wildlife and encouraging more wildlife into your garden through the autumn and winter, is when you bundle up sticks in your garden and have the piles of leaves as well. Ladybirds like to live in amongst the twigs, and they particularly like bunched up straw or dried grass as well. So if you've got ornamental grasses that you've cut back, or if you've got like meadow areas in your garden, you've got long swathes of grass, different decorative grasses or whatever, they really do like to live in there. They take great shelter and they get all the food they need from there as well, and they have safety. So they like to live in those sorts of areas. So bunched up twigs, straws or grasses, things like that, because they prefer that kind of way to shelter. So if you've got anything like that growing in your garden, perfect home for ladybirds. To encourage ladybirds into your garden, growing rich nectar and pollen and nectar rich flowers, I know what I mean, pollen and nectar rich flowers such as like yarrow, fennel, angelica and marigolds, providing them with places to overwinter such as open bamboo, insect hotels, bunches of straw, or like bunched up sticks together. That all helps towards providing them with the environment that they want to live in, and will encourage them to stay in your garden, lay their eggs, hatch out their larvae, and as you know, larvae can't escape because they've got legs not wings, and then they will make the most impact on your pests and things through the year. I hope this will help you to encourage ladybirds into your garden and understand how beneficial they can be to your garden. As I say, pest control alone is a superpower, and they are incredible, formidable opponents.